Today is Saturday, May 16th, 2020. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for the finale of Winners at War.
It's that happy, sad time. Happy that we had such a great experience together. Happy that we had an exciting season to talk about. And a little sad because it's winding down. But we got a little bit of business before we're done. We got to check in with some super fans and see what they thought about that finale. Very different. How many folks? I'm thinking probably just a handful. There were probably not many showing up. How many did we get?
You always say that. Oh, I don't think we have to. 39.
39. I just
All right.
I woke up this morning, slept in. I did sleep in.
Yeah,
woke up, and I've been editing audios for 5 hours. So we finally got everything together. We're ready to go.
Part of them yesterday. So.
Well, yeah, and that doesn't count the hours beforehand. Yeah. So, but it's all good. We love when you guys show up for the finale. We love when you're showing up during the season too, at the beginning, the middle, the end, all of it.
Yeah,
it's
I
all
kind of
good.
laughed at you. You were like, oh.
Look at it from my perspective and how the trend had been going, because we were getting there'd been some Wednesday nights by the time we were done with the show, we had 4 or 5 already in, and then Thursdays we would be into the teens already. I would have like 10 audio I'd already worked on, and then more coming Friday, more coming Saturday, spread out a little more. So it was Friday evening and we had 4 audios. So I thought, oh, maybe it is going to be light.
Not on Friday. Yesterday was Friday.
Yeah.
You had 11.
By the end of the night, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But earlier in the day,
audios.
When I had said that, there weren't that many. Yeah. So in any case, we're thrilled. We love getting together at the end. It's all part of our tradition, our ceremony to get together one more time. And talk about it and see some things that people were able to pick out the episode. We did our recap, but we never get everything. And it's always great to be able to hear things from another perspective, another walk of life, someone who's had a different amount of life experience, a topic that will come up, no doubt, during the listener feedback show today. Life experience and the importance of it, given Probst seems to be hard at work and finding a new way to ruin the show. But we'll talk about that as we go along.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. With that said, do we need to cover anything before we jump in?
I don't believe so.
Let's get right to it. First up, we got a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Oh, my goodness. That was honestly a phenomenal finale. Probst was absolutely right about it. I'm going to have a great big... And may I add this, all hail King Tony. Hail King Tony. Long live King Tony. You're number one. That was awesome. Awesome. He absolutely deserved to win. I knew this jury wouldn't be bitter. I knew it. Natalie, if it was any other season, maybe she could have won. But I'm glad the edge twist didn't have a big factor on the outcome, because Tony deserved it. The extortion advantage. He had a very good social game, winning challenges, finding idols, playing them. The guy is the man, and he deserves to be king, even over Rob. And I love Boston Rob. It was great. But I want to know, guys, Ben looked like he was checked out. He told Sarah to vote him out, which I was shocked by. That was a blind side. Even Tony didn't see that coming. And who knows, if Ben was in the fire-making challenge, maybe he beats Tony there, and anyone could have won. But that was epic. Every tribal was great. Didn't know what was going to happen, including the battle back. I know that might have been dragged when Probst was talking to the contestants, but there was some epic stories. The fire-making challenge was awesome, the whole 9 yards. And what's sad is 1L Michelle played a very good game, I thought. I mean, it didn't help that she was on the wrong side of the numbers. It's just Tony was that good. If it was up against anyone else, even maybe Sarah, I think Michelle would have won because she was well-respected. She won challenge, and she had the social game working for her. I think she would have got more votes. But hats off to Tony. What a great win. Great player. By the way, I'm in my garage making this call, doing Jeff Probst. No, I'm just kidding. But what a season. Tony deserved it. Epic season. I'm hoping when it's safe, they can film season 41 as soon as they can when this thing ends. And I know this thing will end because I love Survivor, and I'm confident it will air in the fall when it should. It should be great. And I heard it newbies, but we'll see. We don't know the cast or anything. Jeff just said there's ideas. Looking forward to it, guys. Epic season. Take care. Be safe. Woo.
All right, woo. Thank you, Pete.
When Pete was doing his woohoos, I was thinking, I bet his neighbors think he's got a dog.
Yeah.
He's howling or something.
Uh-huh.
Woo, woo, woo.
Could be.
It just tickled me.
We can vouch for you,
I tickled
Pete.
myself.
Yes, you did. We can vouch for you, Pete, if you need anyone to bail you out there. Next up, let's check in with Christiana.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Christiana from Boston. With Natalie back in the game, it ended up being 4 Sele and 2 DeCall as the final 6, which I really liked because I don't love in seasons where the original dominating tribe dominates the numbers throughout. And I do think that this is something that made this season good, is that people were really mixed up and it wasn't just about one tribe pagonging the other. But I think overall this season, I would say it was good. I don't think it is the best ever personally, like Jeff is saying, but I think this finale was really excellent. I will say that. A couple of notes before getting into final tribal and the vote. Sarah's speech about gender bias, I agree with you. I think, Joanne, you said this, that it was less so about her game this time around and more so about her beating herself up for the past 3 years about her win and feeling like a horrible person, like we saw in that secret scene with Kim, whereas men play similar, if not even more cutthroat games and don't even think twice. So almost less about a bias in the game, although that absolutely exists, and more about an internalized bias that she is letting go of, and good for her for doing so. The whole Ben situation, so I think this episode he really turned around his narrative. I liked him more in this episode than I have in the entire 2 seasons I've watched him play prior to this. His permission to be voted out, quote unquote, I think Dalton Ross noted that they saw that as a jury read, that he knew he wasn't going to win. Sarah had a shot. He didn't really want to be raked over the coals again. And so he, quote unquote, let her vote him out. But also what was frustrating is that then he takes credit for that in the Ponderosa video. And if you're going to take credit for it, then you're not really doing her a favor. And also from like a gender perspective, tying it back to Sarah's piece, you're taking credit for a move that she's making. So either just do it and don't talk about it, or don't do it. That was kind of my take. Moving into final tribal quickly was an all New Jersey final, which I thought was funny. This was the first time in years that all 3 of them could be deserving and have a case, which I think is great. It was unfortunate that it was in the pouring rain. I think it took away from the viewing perspective, and Sophie just looked absolutely miserable. 16-person jury, the biggest ever, one more than in the original Edge season. Couple of random notes. Michelle is now the only 2-time Survivor player to never be voted out, which is cool for her. I personally think she deserves some votes. I don't know from who necessarily, but just generally her game could have garnered votes depending on who she was going up against. I said in the On the Grill feedback that it would be hard for a non-parent to win. Tony was in the final with 2 people who don't have kids. I'm not saying that's why he won at all, but I'm sure it didn't hurt. And it's insane that no one wrote his name down this entire season. I can't believe he got through that. He zigged where he had to zig, and he played a great game, and he absolutely deserves to win. And finally, just thank you everyone for this community. It is so fun to talk about this show every week with you all. Up until recently, I didn't really have anyone in my life that watched Survivor, so this was kind of my group to talk about it with, and I've really enjoyed it, and it's kept me company in quarantine. So thank you, everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will talk to you in season 41, wherever that may be. Bye.
Excellent. We're so glad you found us, and we enjoy having you be a part of the show. Thanks, Christiana. For your men can play brutal and not think twice about it, you actually offered a perfect counter example, and it's Ben. He wrecked his own game after playing brutally and then thinking multiple times afterwards about it, so much so that he gave up. And like you said in the Dalton Ross EW interview, he essentially says his read on the jury was there was no chance for him, hence his choice to go in that direction.
That's one thing that Ethan was talking about. He said Ben wasn't winning. He wasn't winning against anyone, really.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw an opportunity to maybe help someone that he cared about get the win. He knew he wasn't getting it, and he was either going out that tribal council or the next one. And that,
not if it's him making fire. But.
Well, that's just what Ethan was talking about, and so no, he went out with it. Oh yeah.
I think it really speaks to the effectiveness of Natalie and being such a disruptive force with that information, supposedly, I'll do quote unquote like Christiana, that she brought back from the edge that they were unable to verify. And she delivered that message to Ben, and Ben rolled over and gave up his game. And he didn't, like Christiana was saying, he didn't do Sarah any favors in the end with the way that it all worked out. That wasn't a help to her at all. And it was never going to help with that issue anyway. And to my earlier point, though, is Ben's an example of a male that has worried because he played a particularly brutal game in his season to win with his Ben bombs and how he managed the social side of the game, which wasn't to his benefit, but he won. So in that case, and they've both played those kinds of games and they both won in previous seasons. So anyway, we're going to talk more about that as we go along. Thank you, Christiana. Next up, we got an email from Robert in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. Another season of Survivor is in the history books, and though this season was far from perfect, I really enjoyed its dramatic conclusion. Tony winning this season was the perfect way for Winners at War to end. I think Tony's path to victory was forged when he made the strategic and risky move of splitting up Sarah and Sophie. Yeah, that was huge. It's also amazing to think that for someone not known as a challenge beast, he won 4 immunity challenges and a fire-making challenge. He played a tenacious game with seemingly limitless amounts of energy while never being the target of any votes. Tony proved the value of adaptability, rebounding from his performance in Game Changers. Yep. I also want to address the sentiment expressed by several Survivor winners who felt like their wins or characters were being viewed in a negative light. Survivor's a real game with real people. These people become characters through the lens of great storytellers and narrators. When you see the kind of emotion shared between Tony and Sarah or the heartfelt confessional from Amber on Edge, it's a good reminder that they're real people and not just characters they play. Every winner from Winners at War deserved to be there, and they all are worthy of the title of Sole Survivor. The jury was awarded the winner of the show since the show's inception, and all too often it seems like the jury on social media thinks they should be the one to award the prize. The harassment some players get online only serves to dissuade future generations from applying to be on the show, though it's fun to point out the boneheaded moves people make or question people's motives and strategies. Let's remember that these are real people with feelings and we don't always see the entire picture. I have the utmost respect and gratitude for anyone willing to appear on Survivor for our entertainment. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all the wonderful work you guys do on the podcast and the JSFL. Thanks to all the super fans. I've enjoyed listening to all your different perspectives this season. Until next season, take care of yourselves. Thanks, Robert.
Tony said in his interview that there was a lot more that wasn't seen, of course, and that everybody really played a very good game, that the editors just showed more of his stuff because of knowing that he was in the final 3. So
because he won, yeah.
But of course they did. That's how they work. But he did say that everybody played a really good game.
Yeah. Good. Next up, we got a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and Survivor fans, for the last time this season, this is Cameron from North Carolina. Did I miss something regarding something that happened to Sarah in the game? Her whole gender-based angle at that first tribal seemed really unfounded to me, though ultimately I guess it was enough to convince Michelle and Natalie not to write her name down at the flash-in-the-pan vote. Sad to see Denise's downfall. She is my favorite woman to ever win the game right there, and she couldn't be both the Queen Slayer and the Queen, sadly. Wow, Tony's spy nest actually wound up being maybe a bigger success than his first spy shack from Yann. So I watched the finale with my mom and my sister, and I gotta say, we did not see Ben's angle whatsoever when he offered Sarah to put his name down. I liked his friends over money sentiment well enough, and I get Sarah has to make some last-minute resume boost if she thinks she wants to be Tony, but how does her writing Ben's name down help her? It would have had to be a full backstab on Tony if she wanted that resume boost, but that wasn't an option on account of him winning his third immunity talisman. My only guess is that he fully realized his own defeat, that he had no way at beating anyone besides Michelle at Final Tribal Council, and wanted to go out a memorable martyr who can go chow down at Ponderosa, rather than a zero-vote third-place buffoon. Sure enough, that final immunity challenge proved to me Sarah made a goofy move. Had Michelle gone 5th and Natalie still won that Final Four immunity challenge, what would have happened? Likewise, in my opinion, Sarah would have been safe from making fire. Then what would have happened? She would have guaranteed a seat at Final Tribal Council, whereas because she took Ben out, she then found herself as a part of a Cops R Us fire-making head-to-head. Jeremy seemed a little salty at that Final Tribal Council. For all his reasons, I was just asking, and what about Michelle, who let you get voted out? Boston Rob made a good point on what happened at the Edge, and made evident to me something I hadn't even considered before, which was that Natalie gave them some bitterness to bite on based on how she was playing at the end. Ultimately, I am not all too surprised, and beyond glad for the new Survivor legend, Tony Vlachos. I mean, it goes without saying here that he did something amazing this season. Nothing but congratulations to him. Next season on Survivor, it does so appear we are not missing out on Survivor, folks. I hope Josh the Plush Moose was right, because I'd be all here for a US-based season. Alright, so it's all over now. Those are my notes, and first things first, I am very sad I could not record with Kim at all this season. I'm sure everyone here wanted the Kim and Cameron duo for the finale. I know I did. No, I'm just joking, but seriously though, I mean, I would have loved to record with her, but COVID put a little wrench in those plans, and so we had to be good citizens of North Carolina and distance socially, and ultimately a digital call wasn't probably going to work well, so just know me and Kim have been talking every week. Like, we are still there together, and hopefully next season we can talk together. Last order of business, Stacy. Sounded a little bit surprised that I beat ya. Sounded a little bit surprised that Chris beat ya. Well, guess what? You just lost. I'm sorry, man. That is just so rude to me. But I don't know. I just listened to your recap, and I am just thrilled that I don't have to sing. That's a little bit rude to me. I'm sorry, Stacy. I'm sad for you. I hope you have a great time singing, though. Like I said,
hear the sadness.
It's gonna be fun, man. Such a good season. Really hope we have it in the fall. It seems like we will. Joanne and Stacy, just know that it's going to be a long summer without you guys. You really make my week, and I don't know what I'm going to do on my drives to work anymore. I mean, I forget what I did last year, honestly. All right, everyone. Have a great summer. Hope to see you in the fall.
Pick your favorite season and watch it over and listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to pick a season where we were
Unless it's one of the
podcasting.
first 9, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have those covered. Good deal. Thanks, Cameron. I could really hear the sadness in your voice. Thanks for that, buddy. Next up, we got a call from Kim.
Hey everybody, this is Kim from North Carolina. Sorry I didn't get my feedback in last week. Like Jade from Hawaii, I was feeling a little bit of burnout at the time, but I've rallied back for this week. This has been an amazing season. I'd like to address the idea of who is the king/queen/top dog of Survivor. And I think the growth that Tony showed in his gameplay from the first time to this time, and I think emotional and psychological development that I saw makes him for sure the ultimate winner of Survivor, even over Sandra, who I don't think ever really changed her gameplay. But then again, it worked twice, so why would she? I was happy to see Natalie come back. It was really impressive when she was listing all the things she had done from Edge of Extinction to influence the active game. But I think it also served to show how amazing it was that Tony was actually able to make it to the end, given that people were kind of lining up against him, even though they weren't back in the game. I do not like Edge of Extinction. I really don't care if we see it again. The token thing was interesting, but like we've said all along, they didn't really take advantage of it, and you couldn't really see how people were using them and how that might influence the game. I really liked all of the sweet messages and feel-goods that we saw during this episode. I normally don't love that stuff, but I look forward to seeing more of the Edge of Extinction people getting a chance to make a speech on the extra videos. And I want to shout out to my buddy Cameron, who pulled himself out of the basement of the side challenge on JSFL, only to have, Stacy lose. Oh my gosh. I will help you sing if you want me to, but you probably don't want me to, but just hit me up if you do, because you're my bro, just like Cameron is. All right, great season, everybody. Shout out to Jeremiah, who I think summed up the season perfectly on his Facebook post. And just thanks, everybody, and hang in there. Take care. See you next season. Bye.
I like it.
What's that?
That they're giving it back to you.
Yeah, you two look forward to that.
Well, we know you would do it.
Kim adds, be well, everyone. Thank you for everything you do for this great group of people. Survivor love. Thanks, Kim. I'm glad you're feeling good enough to be here with us on the finale. Next up, we got a call from Rashmi.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy and all my Survivor friends. Another season is over. I thoroughly enjoyed the season, and I think towards the latter half it was pretty done deal that Tony was going to be the winner, but still I really enjoyed the nearly 2-hour long final episode, and the bits with Natalie were just so nail biting because I nearly thought she wouldn't get back. And then she was so good. I was so cheering her on. She got in. She also found an idol, and everything was great. And yeah, I agree with Stacy a bit that Ben did seem to cop out. It was a kind of a quit. You know, I don't think he wanted to see himself up there and fail at something, because being such a good fire maker, if he would have persevered, or if Sarah would have kept him and he had gone against Tony, he could have knocked Tony out. But then if and but, that's what happens. All in all, I'm sorry Natalie didn't win, but she did the best she could. And it's all very nice to say that she should have come back and challenged Tony in the fire making challenge. But you know, who knows what her mindset then was, how much she knew what was going on. And so it's all conjecture. And I'm looking forward to the next season, like Jeff said. So we can expect the next season pretty soon. That should be exciting. And I'm going to miss all my friends, Survivor friends, and my regular podcast, which I look forward to watching. And I'm going to miss Stacy and Joanne's lively banter. And thank you to Joanne and Stacy for doing such a wonderful job for keeping us all together. Everybody keep safe, keep well till we meet again. And I hope to chat to you guys over on Facebook. On that note, see ya. Bye.
Right. Namaste. Thank you, Rashmi. Next up, we got an email from Erza in Finland.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is the first time I'm writing. I have been listening to your podcast for so long. You're doing a great job. Well, thank you and welcome. I got emotional when Sarah and Denise went down the slide at the same time in the challenge, and Jeff said, "This is how it's done on Survivor."
Yeah.
And then I got emotional again and again throughout the episode. I loved it, and I'm so glad that Tony won, but I'm also a bit sad that Michelle didn't get any votes. I thought that at least Wendell was going to vote for her. Stay safe and healthy. Virtual hugs from Finland. All right, thanks, Erza. Up next, we have a call from Kyle.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and all the Survivor fans at home. This is Kyle from Calgary, Canada, calling with some finale feedback. And what a finale it was. I thought it was fantastic. A little bittersweet given what we're dealing with, and that there might not be any Survivor in the fall, but I'm going to try to stay positive with this and say that Tony was certainly the most deserved individual that was out there. He played a great game from start to finish, and you know, I could see why the jury members voted for him. I would say that his turning point definitely for me was when he played the extortion, or was able to properly maneuver the extortion. He was able to gain some trust from people. He had to borrow some fire tokens, paid them back, and then won the immunity challenge. Unreal. That in itself, I think, is worth the win, but he just didn't do that, so he did everything else. Natalie, I think, was definitely the most deserved winner from Edge of Extinction to come back, so I'm glad that she came back. She really showed how hardworking and how determined that she was, and I really look forward to seeing more of Natalie in the future. I'm not sure if that will happen, but it's hard to say. But again, she was fantastic, and you know, a lot of credit goes to her. Michelle as well. She played a really smart game near the end. She was kind of under the radar, but again, I don't think she has to feel bad at all about the game that she played originally, and her win, as she did really well in this one. Lastly, I'm going to just say quickly, Ben quitting, I don't think that I don't classify that necessarily as a quit. Maybe it's like a low-level quit, if there's such a thing. I think he realized that he, A, wasn't going to win, and B, wanted to take something else away from his Survivor experience, which is some friendship, and I think he burnt a lot of bridges in his last season. So, I mean, good for him, I guess. I'm not sure if I would have really wanted to do the same thing, and maybe he felt poorly about it after, but it is what it is, and that was his decision, and he must have made peace with it, so good for him. All right, well, that's it for me. I'm hoping that everyone has a fantastic summer. I'm hoping that we can maybe all reconvene in the fall for another episode or another season of Survivor, hopefully one that's not just sort of haphazardly thrown together for the reason of creating content. I hope everyone stays safe and happy and healthy. And Joanne and Stacy, we're going to be missing your voices if in the fall if something doesn't materialize, but it's all the more something to look forward to in the future. All right, guys, have a great one. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Kyle. Hey, I've got a new filter that I'm testing on Kyle. I'm going to remove that road noise when we get back in the next season. You'll just hear his crystal clear voice.
Well, you hadn't fixed that to work yet, right?
No, I'm testing it.
That's what I mean.
I've got the summer to figure it out.
I see. You're going to promise it anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Good job. Thanks, Kyle. Next up, we got a call from Andrew.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. For the last time this season, it's Andrew from West Virginia. Wow, what a great finale. I know that this is the finale of season 40, one of the most epic seasons ever. I'm going to try to keep it short because that 13-minute one last week was ridiculous. I really genuinely believe that the game finished how it should have, and I really genuinely believe that the first, second, and third place was genuinely the first, second, and third best players of this game. I want to speculate and say I do think it could have gone differently had Natalie, just depending on how that fire challenge went and who went against Tony, I feel like it could have determined a different winner. However, in hindsight, also to that move, that also determines why Natalie played the second best game this season, considering that the Edge of Extinction was a actually huge, monumental part of this season. Natalie did arguably play a wonderful game. Michelle, I don't know how much hope she actually had going into this final three. I don't think she had any going against Natalie and Tony. Still a huge Michelle fan. She is definitely a part of survival royalty, considering she is the only person to actually play the game twice and never be voted out in her Survivor career. There's another person that has also never been voted out of the game, but we will not speak their name, for they have some pretty heinous criminal charges against them. So I definitely think that we have a whole new survival court here. We have new King Tony, we have the Queen of the Edge of Extinction, and we have Survivor's new princess. I'm extremely satisfied with the season. I'm really upset we didn't get a reunion. I feel like a reunion for season 40 would have been epic. But I really want to just take time and say thank you guys, Joanne and Stacy. You guys don't know how much your show really helped me through the past couple of months. I recently got back into school as an adult. Also, the whole world pandemic thing, you guys really helped me have something else to focus on. I loved Survivor and I loved being a part of the community. I loved listening to the other listeners. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys. What a great season. What a great season finale. I would say it's definitely top 10. And I don't know when it will happen, but I do look forward to listening and watching season 41 with you guys. I have no idea how to get a part of the Fantasy League, but I'm really interested. Again, thanks so much, you guys, other listeners. I hope you guys are keeping well, and I cannot wait to hear from you guys next season. Peace.
Peace. Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate all that. And if you go to Get SFP, GET SFP, for any of the episodes and click on Read More, you'll see the full show notes. There's a links section, and in the links section, you can go to there's a link for the JSFL website, and on the website, there's explanations for the rules and things like that. You won't be able to sign up until next season, but it'll open up when we do the preseason shows. We'll let you know about that when it's available. We'd love to have you come be a part. So thanks again. Next up, we got a call from Samantha.
This is Samantha, aka Survivor Rocks from Texas. I was very pleased with the overall finale. It was well done and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Natalie deserved to get back into the game. I was rooting for Tyson or Boston Rob though. It was emotional to listen to the other EOE castaways' thoughts after the challenge. Sarah should have listened to Tony, and Ben too. I would have rather had them in the final three. It's not about men versus women. Get off the soapbox, Sarah. I don't see it that way. Ben basically gave up, and we're very disappointed in him giving Sarah his blessing and writing his name down. Sarah, don't assume Natalie had an idol. I would have voted Natalie to win over Sarah, but not over Tony. The immunity challenge was engaging as the bags kept falling off the stand, as there were a lot of oohs and ahs and oh as the challenge progressed. The fire making at Tribal was a nail biter, as I was punching and shoving my husband as it went back and forth. Tony wins! We cheered and double high-fived. Tony deserved the win of Solo Survivor. He definitely had a social game. He outwitted, he outplayed, he outlasted. And I said exactly what Boston Rob had said before Boston Rob even said it. Natalie did not take out Tony. She had a great story and worked hard each day to get back into the game, manipulated everyone except Tony in the game, found idols, won immunity. Natalie was a beast and just kept going and going. She never seemed to get tired during the challenges when she came back in. She was like the Energizer Bunny. But she also could have put up Michelle over Tony in making fire. If Michelle went to the jury, no big deal. I do think, though, that Michelle had a very good chance at beating Tony and making fire. I mean, at least the way they made it appear. Tony had to survive getting voted out each day and never had his name wrote down. Tony worked while everyone slept. Michelle wasn't robbed of anything. She held her own, but not enough to win or get a vote. Some of the jury seemed to have bitter juices stirring and looked miserable in the rain, but they had great questions. I'm not a nail biter in reality, but I could have lost a finger as the votes were being tallied. Natalie, Tony, Natalie, Tony, Natalie, Tony. We were very happy and applauded and cheered Tony's win, jumping off our couch. It was great to see all these winners this season come back and play again. Thanks for the entertainment. It's been fun. Stay well, and we hope to see Survivor 41 back in the fall.
Excellent. Thanks, Samantha. I'll include the links to all those interviews with the final 6 and with the weekly Probst Q&A where he wraps up the season. And there's interesting insights into those choices, how they ended up, how Natalie ended up making the decision for who was going to go against Tony to make fire, and talking about Michelle was just rattled and crying, and part of her process to hear her side of it, but it's interesting to hear it from the different perspectives and why she ended up going with Sarah. And I think it's going to be, right now, the ultimate irony that Natalie's legacy is all about the hard work, except for one Achilles heel. She did not put in the hard work to learn how to make fire, so that would have been trivial, and she would have given herself the best possible chance to win. Great to hear from you again, Samantha. Next up, we got an email from Laurel. Brian Hedix, save us from North Carolina. That's the JSFL name, Brian Hedix, save us. Laurel won JSFL this season. Ladders and sharks and nests. Oh my. I'm so happy I discovered your podcast and the JSFL. This was the perfect combination of my two loves, fantasy football and Survivor. As the finale came to an end, I wanted to share a few thoughts. Tony, the human cartoon character, he is, that's good, deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor. There are too many anecdotes to discuss, but I watched him bring a family member that only just tolerated the show to her knees in laughter. He had possibly the best performance in a season since Brian Heidick or Kim. Conspiracy alert, Michelle wins the same immunity challenge that she won in her previous season. Had this led to Tony being voted off, the forums would be on fire. And why, Survivor editors, do we not have partitions between the contestants during puzzle building challenges? That's a great ongoing question. Let me echo what many of you have no doubt already observed. Why did Natalie and Michelle target Denise over Sarah, especially with Natalie saying she was focused on breaking up the alliance of Ben, Sarah, and Tony? Ben's decision to let Sarah vote him out was equally noble and an acceptance of where he stood in the jury's eyes. From season 25 on, only 4 women have won. They were all present in the final 6.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one. Natalie had to play the perfect game upon her reentry, and she had the blueprint to win from Chris Underwood. For someone so aware of the jury's mindset, not taking on Tony in the fire-making challenge was the absolute worst time to play it safe. Survivor producers, no more edge of extinction, especially if you're going to allow people to return in the final 6. If there has to be a compromise, no returnee can come later than the merge. I share that sentiment.
Here, here.
Yeah, if you're gonna have that crap, then at least put a stop to it halfway. Thank you, Joanne and Stacy, for putting together a thoroughly entertaining program. Thanks, Laurel, and congrats again on winning JSFL.
Good job.
Yeah, that was quite the feat in itself. Next up, we got a call from Chris.
Hey, Survivor fans. Hey, Joanne and Stacy. When are we going to come back to Survivor? Fingers crossed that it's going to be pretty soon. This last season was great. For example, I can still remember who the winner was. Other things that stood out were how much better it was without the audience portion of the show, and that Jeff rides the girls' bike. Stacy, I know you're going to do a great job. I advise anybody to play the side challenge because with more players, I'm less likely to be in last place. But it really does make you feel a little bit like you have your hide on the line. So I'm looking forward to your song, Stacy. Take care, everybody. Bye.
You take care, too. Thanks, Chris. Good job.
Good sport, Chris.
Next up, we got a call from Jade-n-Christine. Jade's back.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy and Survivor fans. This is Jade.
And Christine.
From Hawaii.
Aloha.
So we're sad that it's over, but we really enjoyed this season. Loved seeing all the big players play again, and I think my favorite part was the final tribal council, because sometimes that can get kind of nasty and people can just be so bitter, and it feels like for this one, everyone was just respecting each other, respecting each other's game, and being so respectful of the game of Survivor itself, which I really liked.
Yeah, that was awesome. And we love Natalie. Natalie came back as we thought, but ooh, it was a close one there. I wasn't sure if she was gonna. I'm like, is she gonna choke? Oh my God,
she had so many advantages.
So but she ended up finishing, and very impressive the way that she made her cracks and got in there and started influencing the game right away. And loved how she was able to influence the game from the edge and use that as part of her resume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's impressive.
Yeah, she made some good points at the final tribal, but I think Tony he had it.
Wow.
He had it from the beginning. He did such a good job, especially post-merge. I think his game was so good, and I hadn't realized that he hadn't gotten any votes. I mean, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the only one that was his name was never written down.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all just excited about watching it again.
Yeah, then we can see, go back and really focus on Tony and see what kind of moves he made.
Yeah, I kind of forget what happened at the beginning.
I know, so long ago.
And there's so many commercials. It's just like, oh my God.
Yes, well, this is our first time doing JSFL, and I know last week I couldn't do feedback because I was just exhausted, but I had to this week because I really loved playing JSFL and sending feedback into the podcast. It just made watching the show that much better, that much more fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. So thanks to all the Survivor super fans, and especially Joanne and Stacy. You are all the winners of Survivor Season 40.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Outstanding. Thanks, Jade. Thanks, Christine. Good job, ladies. Next up, we got a call from Sophie-Caleb-n-Leila.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Sophie-Caleb-n-Leila in El Paso, Texas. I haven't called in 2 weeks ago when my granddad in England passed away, so it's just been a little bit hard, and friends close by here as well. But Survivor's just taken our mind off it. It's the only show that we watch all together as a family, and don't we just love it?
Yeah, I loved when Tony made a comeback in that fire contest. I thought Sarah was gonna win, but man, it was good.
We had to rewind it because my husband was covering his eyes. He was so nervous. I can't believe my husband's really got into Survivor. And he was peeking through when the flag went up, so we just all screamed. And I thought maybe the neighbors were going to call the cops or something because it was so loud.
And he won. Yeah. I was so happy. I feel like Natalie shouldn't have been helping put more moss on it or something.
Oh, should have been giving tips to Sarah?
Yeah, because I feel like it took out the fire too much of that.
Yeah, it suffocated it a bit.
Yeah.
Man, it was so good. Tony had his finger in every pie. He was just in every conversation. He was cool, calm, and collected. I can't believe that the first Survivor show that I ever watched, I went to Amazon and I found it and I thought, let's just start this. And it was Tony winning in Cagayan. And I almost didn't watch Survivor because of it, because I thought, he's so deceitful and he's so conniving and he tricked Wu and he's just a totally different person, and I just absolutely loved watching him, and it was fantastic, right, Leila?
Yes, I absolutely loved how the game was played, and I didn't want Natalie to win. So I was surprised when she came back, and she actually got into the final 3, when usually they would just vote her out because she would be an easy vote. But she
had the idols, and man.
And when Tony was hiding in the tree, and he saw Natalie pull out the idol, he was like,
his little face shaking.
It was so funny.
We rewound that like 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah.
That needs to be my screensaver.
It was so entertaining. Tony deserved to win. And I've realized that winners, they're usually very happy and charismatic. So next time I'm just going to see those sort of personality traits to see if we can guess the winner. First of all, I thought it was going to be Natalie, but I didn't take part in the side challenge. But then I thought, you know what, I want Tony to win the whole way, if Rob didn't get back in.
And the challenge was really hard with the balls and the having to catch it, and I felt really bad when Tony got out. But my goodness, that was a hard challenge. And
man, seriously, just one more thing. If Ben was my husband, he would be sleeping on the couch. He'd been in the doghouse. I can't believe he did. He just gave up. It was ridiculous that he just said, yeah, Sarah, vote me out.
And that was kind of ridiculous, but I wanted actually Ethan to come out. But Natalie, when she came back, she actually did a lot of crazy things.
Yeah. Okay, we got to go, guys. Bye. Have a great summer. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
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 All right. You say safe, too.
And thanks for the laughs.
We love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing your family experience with us. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Barbara in Long Island.
What a great finale. I'm all for no reunions, no talking to the audience, no plugging the next season. Just give us more of the game. And boy, did they. When season 40 began, what I most looked forward to was seeing my old favorites again. But what it ended up being, for me anyway, was witnessing the greatest player of all time, Tony Vlachos. His game was perfect from start to finish, and I didn't even realize that until well after the merge. There have been a flood of interviews with the players since the finale, and it's hard to keep up. The Ponderosa videos were fun, except for how Denise was initially treated when she got there. And I think I've had quite enough of the great Rob and Amber romance. Thank you very much. Oh, and Danny, I think you have eating issues. You're hard to look at without wincing, baby. Nobody comes out of Survivor looking like that without going into Survivor looking like that, if that makes sense. I know that Natalie is disappointed in not receiving more votes than she did, but she was playing a different game all season, not Survivor. there should have been a separate jury vote for Best Edge of Extinction Competitor. She was a beast out there, but in my best Joan Crawford voice, which I have no idea what that would sound like, no more edge ever. I'm sad that Michelle didn't get a single vote. Wendell even ghosted her in the finale. How about that guy?
I like how he gets it. Good job, Barbara. Zing Wendell. One more time.
Oh, I have so much more to say about every player, but I don't want to take up too much time in this final listener feedback. Or will you have another just to finish up this season?
No, just this one.
If you don't, and this is it, then thank you so much, Joanne and Stacy. You've helped all of us get through this terrible pandemic with your hard work and dedication, and thank you for the wonderful contributors to this community.
Mm-hmm.
My love to you all.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yes, thank you very much. Up next, we have a call from John and Ann.
Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Ann.
Hi, Survivor fans.
We were just calling to give our feedback of the Survivor finale. What did you think, John?
I thought it was amazing, and my favorite guy won. It was Tony, and I've been voting for him for a long time.
You've been wanting him to win every immunity and the final game?
Yeah, and he did.
That's awesome. I had a really good time watching the finale with you.
Yeah, it was super cool.
And I'm real happy for you that your pick won.
Yay!
That always makes it more fun.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad Natalie didn't win because I didn't want the person who came back from the edge to win, obviously, but being a never edger. But John and I had a blast watching it together.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I got to stay up extra late because it was so long.
It was super long, and that was fun too. I thought this was, aside from getting to watch it with John, which made it one of the best, also I loved that there was almost no reunion show. That was awesome because some of the time I don't even end up watching the reunion show because I get so annoyed with all the random touchy-feely questions that Jeff asks of the audience. This was great. It was just like really action-packed, and I really liked it. And John was super excited that it sounds like they're going to try to have an episode in the fall, which would be really great.
Yeah, because then I can be in Survivor, and then I can win it.
Yeah, so we're intrigued by them asking the 16, 17, 18-year-olds to apply. Does that mean they're going to do like a teenage season or a domestic season? Or are they trying to get like a backlog of people before they turn 18 ready to go? We're not sure, but John took that to mean that he was going to get a chance sooner than later to apply. So that made him super excited.
So I'm going to have to do some challenges to get ready for Survivor, like throwing and
probably swimming. Whenever we can get back in the pool. Yeah. Running maybe.
Yeah.
Puzzles.
Yeah.
That's going to be super fun. Thanks for keeping us entertained. John's been using this as part of his stay-at-home school curriculum to practice his sharing. And so this season we've been working on consistency of getting our feedback in, but next season we're going to try to get in earlier. So yeah, thanks for all you do, guys. We're going to miss you.
Bye, Survivor fans.
Bye.
Oh, fantastic. Good job, John. Good job, Ann. We love that. Next up, we got a call from Noelle-n-Immie.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. It's Noelle.
And Immie.
Calling from Albuquerque. Just wanted to leave a quick comment about Sarah's implication about gender bias. I think that gender bias is everywhere, but I don't think it impacted her game. I think that Tony was winning and maybe she didn't see it and she was annoyed and trying to sway the jury. And one of the reasons why I love Parvati so much is because she challenges the very prevalent gender bias that women can't work together. I love that about Parvati. So there is gender bias in the game of Survivor, but I haven't seen it in a long time. In fact, a lot of the strongest women have been voted out because they're so set to win the game. Like, look at Janet from last season, and, you know, there's countless of recent examples. So it was a great game. And I think that speech took away from Tony's win a little bit. He played a flawless game, and he deserved his win. And, of course, I'm disappointed. I would have loved to see a woman win. So I kind of wish that they would leave all of the gender bias type arguments out of Tribal Council if then in the next 45 minutes a man's just going to win the game anyway. It's sort of deflating and distracting. And anyway, what else did I want to say? Ben was such a tragic figure this season. That was really interesting. I'm really excited about next season. I'm super bummed. I was going to go back and play my feedback from the end of last season for you guys, because in that one I said my pick right now is Tony to win next season because he played such an amazing game in Cagayan. So even though I want to kick myself for not picking Tony, I'm probably always going to pick Parody. So do you have anything to say, Emmy?
No.
All right, that's it for us. Everybody have a great summer. I hope that we'll get to hear everyone's voices in the fall. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Noelle. Thanks, Emmy. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Nicola and Jackson.
Hi, Survivor family. This is Nicola and
Jackson.
All right. I watched Wednesday night, and Jackson watched on Thursday and Friday, and I loved it. I thought the finale was great. I loved that we got so long, and probably like pretty much everybody else, we didn't have cuts to the studio audience and doing goofy stuff, and it was just a perfect end to a great season. Tony absolutely deserved the win, although Jackson has a different story. Natalie was a beast and proved it so. I am totally sad for Michelle. I thought she at least deserved a couple votes. She played phenomenally as well to get to the end with all the odds against her. I'm sad that it's over. I'm sad that we will miss watching this every week with each other.
I can't wait for season 41.
And Jackson can't wait for season 41. So what else did you think about the finale?
I love the ball game.
You loved the ball game?
Where they had to put it through the tube and catch it and more. And you have to do it faster and faster because there keeps on coming a ball on each side and have to try and catch it.
All the challenges were good, weren't they? They were big challenges. That big water slide you wanted to go down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that was cool. I loved where they had to, put 5 balls and then tried to catch all of them in their hands at the same time.
Yes. After Sarah's speech at Final Tribal about the gender bias and everything else, I was texting with a friend of mine. I was like, well, they showed that for a reason. Hopefully it means there's 3 women in the final 3. But it wasn't to be. We still have a great winner. I don't think we have anything much to say. We really appreciate everything that you do, Joanne and Stacy. I hope you enjoy your time off in the summer, even though we will miss you greatly. And not sure how I feel about 16-year-olds being on Survivor. I know we always say any Survivor is better than no Survivor, but I'm not sure that I want to watch 16-year-olds with no life skills attempt to play this game. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. I'm assuming the vetting process would be great and none of the teenagers in my neighborhood would get on the show.
Can I say something? Go Survivor!
That's right. Can we keep it on the air another 20 years so Jackson gets a shot?
Go Survivor!
All right. We thank you so much again, everybody. Look forward to hearing everybody's voice for one last time. And that's us out. What are you going to say, Jackson?
Go Survivor fans!
Bye, guys. Have a great break.
Oh, you too. Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Jackson. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Geneva in rural Arkansas. Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is my first time writing into your show. I love your podcast. I discovered it during Icky Island of Idols. Oh, that's good. Every week I look forward to your recaps and listener feedback. I have family in Massachusetts, so I especially like hearing Pete with his thick Boston accent. Also, I get a little chuckle that Pete is always followed by Christiana in Boston, and she sounds like she has no Boston accent at all. Like you, I love Denise and would have loved to see her win. However, it seems like she slayed the queen, and then other than some immunity wins, she never got a strategic foothold. When all those idols were played in the first tribal, there was a small part of me that wanted them to tie the vote so that I could see Denise beat Sarah in a fire-making challenge. Yeah, that would have been good. As for Sarah, she should have known when Sophie was voted out that it was Cops our Tony and there was no more us. Sarah's only hope seemed to be when Tony said to put all votes on Denise. Make him feel you were all going to vote Denise so that he hopefully would not play his idol and you could vote him out. Did Ben quit? I'm not sure he was even playing the game at all, but definitely not playing to win. I thought that Sarah, Ben, and Michelle had no shot to win against Tony. Natalie should have knocked Tony out with the fire challenge. I wasn't a huge fan of VOE. The player in the second challenge comes back in way too late in the game. How could the first player out of the game get back in at the end when she didn't win the first EOE challenge to get back in the game? Too many people at EOE. At least there was no one like Reem at EOE this time around. I agree with you 100% on that, Geneva. I think EOE did work better with previous winners.
Dude.
Oh, God, you had to go there. But let's hope they never, ever use this twist again. I'm with you. My favorites going into this season were Denise, Ethan, Tyson, and Kim. I like that Rob and Amber met on Survivor and have a beautiful family. However, as a baseball fan, I'm not so sure about Rob suggesting that his game is on a major league level. He was saying that from EOE, and he was finding fire tokens that weren't even really hidden. You would need Little League skills to find those tokens. One looked like it was just lying on a rock out in the open. I like Rob better in his past seasons. Oh, really, Sarah? You bonded with Natalie in one day? Enough that she would tell you about an idol and not see that you were riding on the Tony train? Choo-choo, next stop is a win for Tony. 3 idols played in one tribal is a lot. Is it too many? We sure did have a lot of idols, advantages and disadvantages played this season. I'm sorry, but how did Medical not pull Danny? No EOE. Send that girl to Ponderosa for some food. I could not have held on to 14 fire tokens and not buy some peanut butter for Danny. I will miss Tyson's comic relief. This was a fantastic cast, and I hope none of them ever play the game again. I kind of like that sentiment, although several of them said they would in their interviews. Survivor seems to work the best when the cast is all strangers or all returning players, and I think these players have played enough. I liked the challenges and loved the group hug with Jeff. I didn't miss the reunion show because of the content-filled finale. Tony deserved the win and played a good game. Survivor was the closest thing I had to a sport left to watch with everything getting shut down. Thanks for all you do. Looking forward to the next season whenever that may be. Stay safe and healthy. And we want to thank you and welcome you to the podcast there with your feedback. Thanks, Geneva. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. Thanks again for keeping me company on my morning workout. Getting ready for the Murph Challenge. If you don't know what that is, look it up for Memorial Day. It's going to be really fun. Yeah, we had a finale. It was unconventional in some ways, and it was really awesome, actually, in a lot of other ways. So on the whole, I'm going to say it was a win for me. I wasn't super on the Tony train. I never have been, but I'm kind of at peace. At least he's not like Tony the first time around, and even Tony the second time around. Got to see a little bit more to him, and while I was still desperately hoping for that Natalie upset, in the end, let's be real, it's not Sarah. Anyone but Sarah, okay? I don't know what it is. Julie and I are just like every time Sarah says anything, it comes across as posturing, hypocritical. Okay, Sarah will occasionally, especially toward the end, get on a little soapbox. She uses a message to try to get, I don't know, points or make a societal point or send a societal message or something. Anyway, she used Zeke last time. Okay, gender bias and Survivor. Fact check, false. Exhibit A, shallow. Exhibit B, Diaz-Twine. Exhibit C, Anderson. There are dozens of examples of women in Survivor who played hard, played amazingly, and were not labeled all these negative stereotypes of women. On the flip side, there are a lot of men who have played really hardcore games and were hated for it, at least by me. And by a lot of people. There are a lot of men who were over-aggressive, and people didn't just call it good gameplay every time. A lot of times they said he was a jerk. A lot of times they said he was over-aggressive. So, Sarah, miss me with the gender bias complaint, especially since then the next move she does is give her power in the game to Ben and let Ben decide that she can have a spot in Final Four. Like, she gave her power to a man for that huge step in the game. He basically gave her fourth place. And yeah, I'm going to kind of call that a quit too. I've read a little bit about his thoughts about why he did that, and he didn't think he could win. He wanted to help Sarah out, but you know what? If you get that far, dude, go for it and just do your best. That was pretty bad. I think that the reunion was not missed. It would have been nice maybe to have like more than a few seconds to look at each of them in that weird Zoom grid, but it was kind of a bummer, the reading of the votes. Natalie and Michelle just both looked kind of miserable as it went on. So that was too bad. I was glad to see Michelle do well and kind of speak up for herself. I had the final 6 exactly wrong except for one place. I got Sarah in 4th, though of course it's not exactly at all how I thought it would go down. So Stacy, thank you. You saved me barely from being last place. I think that's the worst I've ever done in the side challenge, but good luck, man. So let's say the loser of the week, I'm going to give that to Sarah just because guys, Sarah, no. Okay, and we just don't like her. We just don't like her. Sorry to say. Sorry, Sarah fans. And sorry, Sarah. I'm sure as a person you're great, and then as a mom and do your thing, but as a player, not a fan. The winner of the week, or the winner of the season, I should say, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Natalie. And I don't think it's fair to demand that she has to win her way into the finals by going against Tony to make fire. Because she played the game that she had to play to get back in and get from the first out. Thanks again for a great season, everyone. We'll see what happens in the fall. Who knows? But stay strong. Go outside. Look at the sky. Beautiful Saturday morning. I'm going to go mow the lawn. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Drew. And you're welcome, buddy, there on the side challenge. Glad I could help you out. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. It's David in Pittsburgh. And I just want to say I'm in a much better frame of mind this week than I was last week. And I want to thank you for being so supportive with the issues I was dealing with my dog. I want to say that this season helped eradicate season 39. I thought it was an excellent season. It was a great finale. 3 hours, jam-packed, really enjoyed it. As to the 3 finalists, I was fine with each of their gameplays. I thought Michelle was the underdog the whole way. Again, it shows you her social game, how good she is at that, because she was in the final 3. Then there was Natalie the Beast coming back from the edge. You could see that she focused more on her endurance, possibly than her social game, and so in the end she only got 4 votes, but still that was good. And Tony, who never stopped playing. There was not a single time where he wasn't playing the game. In fact, even in the beginning, when he was laid back as Tony could be, I thought he did a great job. And then when he burst out of the gate, he did it full force. It was excellent. So for the past 3 episodes, it was the Tony show. The last episode was the Natalie show, and then the jury had to make the decision. Once again, I go back to my theory about Plan B. I just felt that a lot of the players did not have a good Plan B when they went into Tribal Council. A good example is the one when Tony's telling Sarah and Ben he thinks Natalie has the idol. They're saying no. So again, when it gets to Tribal Council, everybody's starting to scramble. As for the edge, I like seeing the players out there and what they were going through, but the basic flaw is we want to see the person who's working on the island the hardest win the game, not somebody who comes back and plays a different game and wins it. But anyway, last year at this time, I said to you guys, I need something to keep me going until the next season, and you recommended a number of seasons to go back to, and because I have a CBS All Access, I did that. But what I didn't realize is that your podcasts go back, and so I went back to check, and I found you go all the way back to 2005, February 2005 at Palau, and the first thing, Stacy, that you say is, so we'll give this a shot and see how it goes. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. I can't wait to watch those episodes and listen to your podcast. You guys are the greatest. No wonder you're the king and queen of podcasting. I'm Survivor, 15 years going strong. I'll see you guys in the fall. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, David. We appreciate that.
The grandma and grandpa, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's more apropos. Yeah. Next up, we got a call from Slappy.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. It's Slappy McGee. So it's over, and it was great. A good show. I was very happy about the result, and I was happy I didn't pick her coming out, Natalie. I thought she would. I thought there was too much pressure on her to do it, and I'm so glad that she did, because out of everyone who went to the edge of extinction, she was the one who deserved it the most, and she made the most of it coming back, and it just shows what a fierce competitor she was. So I'm really happy for Natalie to battle back that much, and I was very happy that Tony won, because he earned it as well. and he's just a great face for this group of winners. He's much more grounded and just a better, gracious person than he played the last couple times. So it was good for him. So I was happy for both him and Natalie for doing so well, and it was fun to watch. There's a lot of things that I liked about this finale, and the fact that they didn't do the whole audience interaction thing. I mean, obviously they couldn't, but I liked it better because we got more of the show, and we didn't have to worry about all the interviews with all the other contestants. I'm glad they did it this way. We got a lot more of the show jammed into the time slot, and that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad the editors did that. Problem I did have with the editors was the whole thing with Sarah when she brought up the problem that she'd had with the gender bias, and there's lots of problems with that, and that the editors kind of undercut her message. I think that clearly Sarah had some issues with that, and it wasn't happening then in the show. She kind of thought it was. I think it was in her head for this particular group, but she'd obviously run into it off the show, and then the editors chose to undercut her message, like by showing how uninformed she was, like when she says, Sarah knows what's going on, and she obviously didn't. So it kind of undercut her message a little bit. Of course, then they have the whole problem with the different games and different challenges they have that they divide into men and women, and if they really want to cut out the gender bias, then they wouldn't separate this thing between men and women. It shouldn't be separated men and women anyway. It should just be everybody out for themselves, regardless of your gender or anything. But I don't know. I think that's a problem, and I was kind of felt bad for Sarah because I love Sarah, and I felt bad that they showed her in such a negative light, and then Ben gives up his spot for her. That's not really helping her message. So I think they had the chance to edit out some of the things that she said to maybe not undercut her message as much. And I mean, they certainly focused on Jeff's virtue signaling there. It's like, oh well, I've done some things that, well, okay, we get it, Jeff, but it's not about you right now. It's about Sarah. So I don't know. I felt a little weird, and I felt that the editors could have done a better job with that. And I also wish that the puzzles were different. We've seen those puzzles so many times, and I wish they would. It doesn't take that much. You'd think they'd make a lot of money. They could come up with some different puzzles. So hopefully they will. Hopefully they come up with some puzzles. Maybe they did it because it was a winter's season and they wanted to highlight some of those. And maybe, you do all these physical challenges, and then at the end of it, there's a puzzle. And it doesn't matter what you do in the physical challenge, because it always comes down to the puzzle anyway. So maybe they can start to work on some of those things, fix their own editing. But it was so much better than last year, and I'm glad that they had this Winners at War, and they made some big strides getting us fans back. So good for them. Thank you, Joanne and Stacy, for all you've done. We appreciate all the hard work. I'm looking forward to the listener feedback. And what a great season. Congratulations to Tony, congratulations to Natalie, and for you guys as well, because you're winners in my book too. All right. Thanks, Joanna Stacy. Slappy out.
All right. You're a winner too, Slappy. I hadn't seen...
Where's the SmackDown?
Oh, you expected him to give me smack talk?
I'm disappointed.
Oh, okay. Did you hear
Well,
that, Slappy?
you would have.
I see. Okay. So it's only fair.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can hear
You're too kind.
the vindication that is accompanying me right beside me here. So I hadn't really connected those dots the way Slappy did. I like that, where you can see, like he was saying, that point about Sarah being so sure, and then she was so wrong. So
third person, Sarah knows.
Yeah, it actually does put a different frame around what she was saying. Now, when you go read the interview at EW.com, she's under the impression that Boston Rob has said some things about her, because they were on the when they went down to 3 tribes, they were on the tribe together, and obviously she's not going to put up with any crap from him, and so I think they knocked heads, and evidently he was talking. This is the view that she got from Natalie, I think, is that he was running her down over there and campaigning against her after that experience with her, when she wouldn't abide and play along with his plan.
Yeah, he was trying to lock everybody down and not let anybody go off together and talk. And
she wasn't having any of that, so that evidently...
I wouldn't have either.
Again, I think it's another example of Natalie delivering those messages and her controlling the narrative, and it really had an impact on Sarah, especially after Michelle had planted that seed. In any case, I'm not saying anything about what did or didn't happen, or what she actually heard beyond that, but there's some more good info in those interviews. Thanks, Slappy. Good deal. Next up, we got an email from Nathan in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. What a great final episode, and in my opinion, a well-deserved winner. Tony played a fantastic game, and to make it through the entire season without one vote shows a masterful game. What a masterful game he played. This puts him on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor for sure. I was surprised that Sarah and Ben were so sure that Natalie did not have an idol. It goes to show how much damage false confidence can have on your game.
It wasn't just them, too. In Denise's interview, she talked about how she was part of that also.
Well, Tony said something about they thought, oh, no, that wouldn't be fair.
They wouldn't allow it.
They wouldn't allow that. That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah,
that she came back and had protection.
Tony knows Survivor ain't about being fair.
Exactly. So... Okay, on the other hand, paranoia can also destroy your game. It's just another fascinating aspect of the game. Speaking of Natalie, I give her major kudos for being amazingly strong. She never slowed down or gave up on Extinction Island, and it paid off. She deserves the accolades for what she was able to accomplish. That being said, there's no reason she should have received 4 votes. You can't or shouldn't win Survivor when you've only played Survivor for 5 or 6 days. The Edge is not Survivor. You don't have to vote out anyone or strategize on who to take with you. I actually lost a little bit of respect for the players who voted for her. Perhaps that's taking it too far, but I just can't comprehend voting for her as a winner. I don't know if I'll watch a season if Edge of Extinction comes back down the road. But I am grateful for this season. It was a lot of fun, and it was great seeing all the winners one more time. Thank you to everyone who makes this podcast community possible. It really does add to the show.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Nathan. Up next, we have a call from Ed.
Joanne and Stacy, this is Ed from Milwaukee. The Final Five was a game of old school Survivor being played by new school players. This game was not decided by new school tools such as voting blocks, trust clusters, or voting blobs, but rather by an old-fashioned rock-solid alliance between Tony, Ben, and Sarah. Sarah and Tony have been an unbreakable brother and sister bond that goes back to their first season, and Ben, as a military veteran, had a loyalty to Tony and Sarah that reminds me of Rudy and Richard Hatch. Sarah and Ben made it clear that they would rather lose than betray Tony. Although I am not a Tony fan, I would not buy a used car from Tony. I have to admit that he deserved the win. Besides being the beneficiary of the strongest alliance in Survivor history, he played a flawless game, and he upped his game by winning so many individual immunity idols. I am still shocked that no one ever tried to vote him out. Natalie was sent to exile in the first tribal in large part to weaken her partner Jeremy, but no one thought about separating Tony from Sarah. My heart is broken that Natalie was not able to win, and I will always wonder if she would have won if Sarah had beaten Tony at Fire, or if Natalie had volunteered to take part in the Fire Challenge. I have been a big fan of Natalie since I first saw her play with her twinny on The Amazing Race, and I was fascinated by her no-holds-barred play in Survivor Blood vs. Water 2. People talk about her physical dominance this season, but on her first season she showed that she had great social and strategic skills as well. Because she was on the edge, we had little opportunity to see those skills. I have watched all of the Jury Speaks video on YouTube, and I am annoyed that some of the jury have discredited Natalie because she came back from the edge. Although I hate the concept of the edge, it is part of the rules for this season, and therefore a returning from the edge should not be discredited. Michelle played the best third-place game in a 3-person final of all time. Most third-place finishers are carried to the final because they are easy to beat, but Michelle, as an underdog, crawled, and bit her way to the final. To quote Ethan, Michelle played the best game she could have played with the position she was in. I wish the jury had given Michelle a couple of votes for a job well done. P.S. Although I predicted that Michelle would do well this season, I still believe that Aubrey should have won Survivor Coal-Wrong. It is obvious to me that Tony would win if he made the final. Therefore, the real drama is who would get the SIA money. My bet is on Ethan, with perhaps a side contribution to Jonathan Penner's charity through Yule. I've never played JSFL, but perhaps, Joanne and Stacy, you could create a similar game for predicting the winner of the SIA money. The real winner this season is the state of New Jersey. the Garden State will be able to harvest a significant amount of tax revenue from Jersey residents Tony, Natalie, and Michelle. But Iowa, Sarah and Denise did not do too badly. Again, Joanne and Stacy, I cannot put into words how much joy Survivor and your podcast brings to us listeners, and it will be a long summer and perhaps a long autumn without the Survivor Fans podcast.
Awesome. Normally we get a write-in, but it was great to get your audio. Good job, Ed. And yeah, we'll write that down and potentially use it as a listener reward bonus question. Who's going to get the SIA money? Yeah, that could work out. Next up, we got a call from Shahin.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. This is Shahin from Australia. I haven't been able to give my feedback for the last few weeks, and this has been due to work and also due to being a bit nervy about whether Tony would win or not. Me give an opinion, really hype him up, and then get disappointed. In the end, I wasn't, and he pulled it out the bag, so really happy about that. The episode, I think we all knew that Natalie was going to pull that out the bag. She had all these advantages. If she had lost from that position, it would be borderline embarrassing. She had that many fire tokens. Quickly want to touch on fire tokens. I think it's a broken economy. I would have much preferred to have seen it in another season of Survivor, season 41, season 42. I think the concept is good, but they shouldn't have tested the waters with such a star-studded cast. I think what they thought was that such a cast would acclimatize immediately to such a concept, but I think even they didn't know really what to do with it initially. It kind of worked a little bit towards the end, but I just think there was too many advantages and disadvantages that came out of it in the end. Talking about EOE, I think they really do need to rework it if they ever think about bringing it again, i.e. not having such a large jury in the end, and even the concept of the island itself existing. I know that they've said that it won't be back for a while, which I'm pretty stoked about. I think the episode played out very linearly, albeit I'll touch upon the relationship that the cops have built, and I think that's probably one of the greatest alliances we'll ever see, and the winner being probably the greatest player to ever play Survivor. I know I'm making a big call, but the way that Tony has won his 2 seasons, I think outweighs the 2 wins that Sandra has had, and the style of win is probably the best style that I've ever seen from anyone. Now, I've got one word to represent every single player for this season. Natalie, resilient. Amber, lost. Danny, confused. Ethan, apathetic. Tyson, renewed. Rob, outdated. Parvati, bereft. Sandra, dethroned. Yule, optimistic. Wendell, outplayed. Adam, uncomfortable. Sophie, unempathetic. Kim, outwitted. Jeremy, late. Nick, leveraged. Denise, slayed. Ben, battled. Sarah, combated. Michelle, proven. Tony, victor. And with that, 2 questions I'd like to pose to you guys as well. So who would I like to have not been in this season? And I just had the 3 in the end, Amber, Danny, and Adam. So I'm interested to see who you would have not liked to participate in this season, and who I would have liked to be in this season. And for me, it was a bit harder. I thought out of the 2 females, it'd be Vesepia and Jenna. And out of the males, it's a bit harder, but I would have said Tom, Earl, JT, or Cochrane. Either of those would have been good, but my preference would have been Tom. Thank you very much, guys, for all that you do. I really thoroughly enjoyed participating in the discourse and conversation with you guys, and I hope you guys have a wonderful year, and hopefully see you guys in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahin. Good job, buddy. How about you? Is there anybody that you would leave out, and then anyone you would add?
I would probably myself leave out Adam.
Yeah.
Even though he was okay. I
would have traded Adam and Nick for someone else, for sure.
Tom or Earl would be great.
Yeah, I know tons of us want Earl back.
I know. And I think he would have accepted, for having a baby. So
yeah,
I think that's why he didn't.
Right priority for sure. But
absolutely.
Sure hope we do get to see him play at some point, and I'd love to see Vesepia come back. I know she's been a huge fan of the show, and she's someone who just gets overlooked all the time. So I think that would be a good one too. Tom Westman, he was so dominant in Palau, and Heroes versus Villains was a little different look at him, and I don't know. I'd be afraid we'd get the Boston Rob version of him, and I don't want that disappointing version of Tom. I think he's had some health issues too, so that
he did. That's why he didn't.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked out for him.
But that would be about it. I would have been okay with Nick not being there too. So.
Yep, there's ours. Thanks for the question, Shahin. Good job again. Next up, hey, Shay's back.
Hi guys, it's Shay. It's been a while since I've called. I've just been so busy working and passing out masks to people and just stuff. But it's been an amazing season, and I've been listening to the podcast. This season did not disappoint, and last night I think I would have been satisfied with any winner. They all truly had great stories. Natalie is a beast. The things she did on so little food on that island to get those fire tokens is just unbelievable. I mean, just lapping people. It was just unbelievable to watch her work, and then use all of those opportunities strategically, and then to come back in and manage not to be voted off first and come into it with an idol, then find an idol, then win an idol. I mean, if she had won, it would have been well-deserved. And Michelle had to play from the bottom the whole time, and every time it was going to be her, she managed to come out on top with an immunity necklace or something, and it was amazing to watch. But Tony, he played a full, solid game. He deserved the win. He won immunity necklaces. He found immunity idols. He made bonds with people and connections, and it worked for him. He really did deserve to win the game. Though they all did on some level, but I really believe the right person won. What an amazing season. I don't know how they'll top it, and I don't know what they'll do next given our current state of affairs in the world right now, but I, for one, will be there to watch as soon as they figure it out. I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. Have a good day. Bye.
Awesome. Great to have you back. Thanks, Shay. Next up, we got an email from Yann-n-Conner from Northern California. Wow, that finale was jam-packed, exciting, and nerve-wracking. Tony 1000% deserved this win. I was never a huge Tony fan, but he outwitted, outplayed, and outlasted all of them. It's actually been a number of seasons since I agreed with the choice of the winner. It was great to feel that excitement and really just enjoy the game again. I think that came across for a lot of people, even the ones that weren't previously Tony fans. I love that the finale was chocked full of gameplay. We were on the edge of our seats the whole time. Surprisingly, I didn't miss the live audience and question and answer period. I really enjoyed seeing more gameplay, 3 challenges, tons of strategizing, fire practicing, spying, and each person really selling their case well. It was great. Many of you super fans, and of course Joanne and Stacy, are great at remembering every move, dissecting all the important moments, etc. Maybe I need to watch each episode twice, once with the kids and once without, to get to that level, but I'm not great at providing that kind of insight, so I'll leave that to you professionals. I really appreciated Sarah's speech about gender bias. I absolutely agree with her. I work in an industry where when a man is aggressive and tough, he's touted and given props for his abilities, but often a woman with the same strengths and abilities is called the B word, and that she is difficult. It is getting better, a lot better, but it still goes on. I paused the show and used what Sarah was saying as a teachable moment to my sons until they got antsy and yelled to turn the show back on. There may have been some eye rolling too. Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, I'm proud of her for calling it out, for speaking the truth. I was also floored with Jeff's response, taking it in and owning it, admitting his gender bias and saying he will try and do better. So rare for people to admit that biases exist and they themselves are guilty of them. I'll get off my soapbox for now. What was Ben playing this season? Did the difficulty of the game just get to him and making him play too emotionally? The second half of the game, he stopped even talking to Jeremy, and none of us ever understood why. He does talk about that in his interview on EW.com.
Oh, good.
It was very childish. Then at the end, he basically quits and tells Sarah to vote him out. I really don't get it. Super disappointing. Lastly, for me, it was a great season. I absolutely loved all the winners back. I loved the gameplay level as high as we've ever seen it. I loved knowing the whole cast and guessing who would best who. But to me, it's not top 5 because of EOE. I hate it. No season with EOE can ever be a top 1 for me. I love Nat. In fact, when picking my original USB, she was one of the final contenders for me. She played amazing. She is a physical beast, and once she got back in, she really showed what a strategic player she is as well. But honestly, for me, she shouldn't have gotten any votes. She was voted off first and came back at 6. I would have preferred Sarah or Denise or even Ben to be in the final 3 because they made it that far without being voted off. I get it with Jeremy as he and Nat are really close, and Tyson as she gave him an idol to use if he fought his way back in, but was really disappointed that Parv and Ethan voted for her when she had been out since day 2. Connor's one line of feedback as he is playing a video game is that the finale was super exciting. He feels that Tony absolutely deserved the win, and he agrees with all us EOE haters and was relieved that Natalie didn't win. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy. This is the first season we've contributed to the podcast and played JSFL. It really makes Survivor a lot more fun. I look forward to your Wednesday analysis and then hearing everyone's contributions on Saturday. It's been such a rough time, and you all have added a little light to it. I am super sad we may not have Survivor in the fall. I also truly will miss hearing all your voices. Take care, everyone. Excellent. Thank you, Yas. Thanks, Connor. You guys take care, too. Did a great job participating in your first season. Next up, we got a call from Jill. She's back.
Yay!
Hi Survivor fans, hi Joanne and Stacy. It's Jill from the Outback here. I feel a bit of a fraud coming in at the last feedback to actually put some in since I haven't done it at all this season. But the main thing I wanted to say was thank you to Joanne and Stacy for the podcast, for all the work that you must put into it. I, for one, really appreciate it, and I know so many others do too. And to thank everyone else for putting in their feedback. Even though I haven't done it myself, I've listened to every word, and you've changed my opinion at times, and I've hated your opinion at times, but it's all good fun. With the actual season, I'm really happy that Tony won. I wasn't sure if Natalie had won, I wouldn't have hated her for it, but I would have hated the game because it's just unfair that she can sit, or anyone can sit at the edge and not annoy anyone. You know, they're not being involved in any of the deceit to get anyone kicked off, or so they're not creating bitter jurors against them. And then they can come right in, like, no doubt in the world that Natalie's a beast and she worked her butt off to get where she did. But that game was Tony's to win, I reckon. At the start of the season, there was lots of conjecture over who people would vote for, if it would be like a family person, if any of the singles had any chance of getting it. And I wonder how much that went in Tony's favour, being at final council with 2 single women. I hope everyone's going okay with the current situation in the world. It's just crazy. But we ourselves live pretty remotely anyway. We're isolated at the best of times. So to us, it hasn't really made a difference, but we feel for everyone that the lockdowns, that the actual virus has affected in major ways. So I'll leave it here. Thanks again, Joanne and Stacy. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Steve, for all the work that you guys put into it. And happy days, everyone. Bye.
Awesome. Happy days. Thanks, Jill.
You have no idea how much I've missed your voice. Thank you.
Yeah. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy and the whole Survivor community. This is Rebecca calling from Northern California on a walk in the woods. That was a great finale, and for me, I feel like that season ended perfectly. It was so emotional, had great drama, great suspense, great gameplay, and just so much beautiful spirit. And, I didn't win a lot of points. I only got Michelle as third in the proper lineup, but it was really amazing to watch. I loved Natalie coming in and just completely taking everybody apart in about 2 days and saying, I'm going to take apart that alliance. And she did on her own what no one could do all season. She dismantled an ironclad alliance. And as she did it, you really got to see how deep this friendship and emotion everybody had for each other. There were so many tears. It was pretty incredible to watch. When Ben said, I'm just going to fall on the sword now, you take it. The emotion in that was wonderful. I'm sure there's a lot more reasons behind that we didn't get to see in the edit. I'm sure he didn't just quit. I'm sure there was more to it, but it played out like a wonderful movie for us. Good job, editors. It was just really spectacular on his part to step aside. And then I know there's some controversy that Natalie should have stepped up and made fire. Chris Underwood ruined it for everybody else in the fire challenge by stepping up and making fire. And now it's not enough that you don't have to. It's more that you put yourself in the spot and prove that you could. From what I have heard about Life on the Edge, Boston Rob is schooling everyone in how to make fire. She totally could have done it. I don't understand 100% why she didn't, but I think she wanted to eliminate the camaraderie, and she did. And it was spectacular. She made the two deepest buddies fight each other, and the crying at the end, how it just totally undid Tony to have to be the one to eliminate Sarah. That was awesome. I mean, I'm not glorifying his tears. It showed the depth of his caring for her, and I think that was the moment that he won. I think the jury had such sympathy for him and realized he had not one vote against him. His loyalty to his alliance ran so deep, and I think not making fire backfired on Natalie in more ways than one. But you know what? Second place is great. I think with all that she accomplished and all that she did, coming in second, not bad at all. So I loved it. What a wonderful, wonderful episode. I'm going to miss Survivor so much. I'm going to miss the podcast. I love the community. I love the podcast. I can't wait for it to come back. And I hope everybody does really great. And I wish you all well. Stay safe and be well. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Good job. Next up, did you have something?
I was just going to say that Tony said that was really tough on him to watch that all over again, that he cried harder than he did when it actually happened, watching it last night or Wednesday night. And they asked what Sarah was saying to him, and she's like, pull it together, man. Stop crying. And he's like, but Sarah, she's like, no, and you're going to the finale. And he's like, I don't care. And he said she was very calm about it. He was the one breaking up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Rebecca. Next up, we got a call from Lisa.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. Hello, Survivor fans. This is Lisa from the UAE. And boy, what a great finale, eh? That was awesome. It was so exciting, and it had me glued to the TV for the entire time. I couldn't walk away, and it was such a mixed bag of emotions too. There were times when I was screaming at the TV. There were times when I was just clutching my hands with anticipation, and there were others where, I was even grabbing a Kleenex at one time, wiping a couple tears away. So it was a total mixed bag of emotions for me watching this, and I thought they did a really good job with this episode, and I was very happy. I doubted Jeff as well when he said, oh, well, this is the last time you're going to hear from me. And I was like, yeah, well, that remains to be seen. And honestly, they just jam-packed the entire thing full. A lot of gameplay. We saw a lot of scheming and strategizing and stuff. And I just thought that was an excellent, excellent way to do this episode. I think they should do that more. We start off with Natalie coming back from the edge. And boy, oh boy, I thought she would just fly through that whole thing. So when she got caught up on that pole, I was like, what is going on here? And Wendell was way out in front. And like, holy mackerel, does Wendell come back? That didn't even cross my mind that he would. But boy, she made it back. And I really liked how she started to stir things up right away with planting doubt. I thought it was a really good strategy for her to really connect to Michelle immediately. And yeah, boy, Michelle on that immunity challenge, eh? I thought she was out of the game. I wasn't even considering her anymore. And then when she came back and did that final puzzle, it was like, no problemo, just zip zap. Boy, Lucina, how adamant she was with that Natalie didn't have an idol. And I was yelling. That was one of the times I was yelling at the TV, like, man, you are so wrong. You are wrong. Man, Natalie really did play very well to the end of the game. And I was in the back of my mind, I was like, no, not like this. She doesn't win this, please no. But she played really well. So that was really, I thought that could have been something that could have happened, although I wouldn't have liked that outcome. With Tony, I was so cheering for him all the time with his immunity win. That was one time I cheered out loud and scared my cat half to death. And then when he won with the fire, I thought that was fantastic. And when it comes to the final tribal, I really appreciated how all the finalists were shown respect for their game. And no one was really put down like, oh, what are you doing there? They were all given that equal respect. But I was even happier with the final outcome. Congratulations, Tony. How exciting. What a great season. And boy, now what am I going to do? Now that this season is over, I don't know. I'm going to really miss having something to look forward to. Hopefully I'll see you guys again when we have another season, and hopefully that'll come soon. So take care, everyone, and I look forward to hearing from you all.
Excellent. Thanks, Lisa. I'll give you a recommendation. It's not Survivor. I mean, you obviously watching previous seasons can be a fun thing to do, but there's a new season of Alone coming. It starts, I think, on June 11th, and some folks have heard me talk about that before. It's a completely different experience. It's a very psychological event, and it's interesting to see how people respond in that particular show. That we've enjoyed watching. Yeah. The previous seasons of that, and they've several. I think this is season 7. Yeah, I think 7 is the one that's coming. In any case, it's really interesting to watch people's process and how they deal with that. And I think there's a extra award in this one if someone makes it to 100 days. So that would be quite extreme to see. So that's something to consider if you're looking for a different kind of show. Thanks again, Lisa. Good job. I love the energy you bring. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California.
Hey, Survivor fans. Overall, this was one of the better seasons we've had in a while. There was a lot of action and great gameplay, and I'm happy with the result, even though it seemed like the winner was pretty obvious after the episode before this one. I had a feeling this episode would start at the Extinction Challenge, since it had led up to it and was a good one. Even with all of the advantages Natalie had, she did seem to struggle with the very first part of the challenge, but she made up for it and won. I liked how she told everyone that Tony was the winner in the jury's mind. For that first immunity challenge, that was quite a comeback for Michelle. I think she had a slight advantage when it came to the puzzle because she'd done it and won it before. Mm-hmm. For that final immunity challenge, that was an interesting fact that in the past, whoever won that challenge won the entire season. I'm glad Tony ended up winning this season, and I do like how he started out not going crazy right off the bat, but near the end got to be his own self with his antics, and I see him as the rightful winner this season. Who knows when we will get the next season, so until then, I hope you all have a great summer, and we'll talk to you all again whenever we are back for the next season. All right, thanks, Jack. You have a great summer, too. Mm-hmm. Up next, we have a call from Jody.
Hi there, Survivor family. What an episode. What a season. What an amazing group of people you are. Wow. The things that have kept me going through all of this are just wow, wow, wow. I don't think I've ever been as satisfied with an ending, with a winner, with the possibility of any person at the end taking it out. It was just perfection, honestly. Of course, there are things that are just essentially broken in the game, like the fire challenge and something else I can't think of right now. But wowzers, I was so hopeful for Natalie to get back in the game, and she did, and it didn't look like it was going to happen, and I was super scared for her, and then it did, and then I feel like she just played the ending to perfection, but that's just me. And then I was like really hopeful for Michelle, thinking, oh, the ultimate underdog, just nobody's talking, nobody's working with you, and she just beasted her way back, plus the relationship she has with Natalie. That was so perfect. And then Tony just Tony'd all the way up to the end, and I really feel like he showed his intuition the best when Natalie's returned with an idol and he wanted the 2-2-2 split. It's amazing. I really loved the emotion with Ben and with Tony and with Lucina. Super. So it's just an outpouring of yes, 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 and a little bit of, oh no, look at my score, because honest, I did worse than you, Stacy. Whew, that was tough, but luckily there's nothing writing on it. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm just not smart. I don't look at any of this, the JSFL with my brain. It's all just heart, and I suck at it. But anyway, I do like the emotional ringer it puts me through. I love this podcast. I love this show. I love all of you. I love listening to the kids growing up and everything that's, just the little bits of your lives that I get through this. It's super special. And I'm sad that it may be a little minute between drinks, but I can't wait until everyone's back here again, safe and sound and ready to face whatever's next. All right, love yous. Peace out. Bye.
All right, peace out. Thanks, Jody. Next up, we got a call from MikeK.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy and Survivor fans. Wow, what an incredible win for King Tony. I thought Tony would be targeted so early as a huge threat, I didn't even consider him for my USB, and he makes it through the entire game without a single vote cast against him, while all the time building a scary ladder, spying in a spy nest, winning 4 immunity challenges, blindsiding Sarah by voting out Sophie, winning the final 4 fire-making challenge, and having the most votes ever to win, 12. Previously, the high was 10 to 0 for Jeremy and Adam. Quite an impressive win for Tony. My USB 24 was Natalie, and she was voted out first on day 2, but she made it all the way back into the game and came in second place. Actually, I gave up on her. I had switched to USB 5 for Jeremy, but I'm still glad that she made it to second. I think she needed to give up the immunity and beat Tony like Chris did in firemaking to have any shot at winning, especially because she had an immunity idol or necklace at the final 6, final 5, and final 4 tribal councils, so she was never really vulnerable. So she needed something big to put on her resume. And I thought one Al Michelle played well socially for being outside of so many votes and not really having an alliance to protect her. Plus, she won 2 individual immunity challenges, and she's the only one of those 20 winners to never have had her torch snuffed. I enjoyed this final 3 and final tribal council. I really like that they gave them all applause at the end. And the Ponderosa videos this season are excellent. I highly recommend them. While I really enjoyed this season, what I really enjoyed most was seeing all my favorite old school players on my screen again, although I wish they were all there. I wish the tribe division, though, would have been more something like old versus new school to give the old school players a better chance at staying in the game longer. I think Jeff definitely overhyped the season as being the best season ever, but I did really enjoy it in the end, even without the virtual reunion that they had promised. That's kind of strange since I know every player was sent equipment for filming the virtual reunion, so maybe we'll still get one later, hopefully as a TV show, but if not, maybe on YouTube or CBS All Access, because I'd like to see all these winners once again, especially the old school winners who we'll probably never see again on Survivor. Finally, us super fans were really bummed and saddened by not being able to get together in Hollywood for our season 40 finale and to hang out with all the 20 winners and their friends and family. Oh well. So the super fans, we had a Zoom virtual hotel lobby meeting on Tuesday night, so we can catch up with each other. And then for Wednesday, we're thinking, what should we do? And Mertz, Big Mike, and I put together a 16-hour Zoom meeting from 9 a.m. Eastern to 1 a.m., where us Survivor super fans, we rewatched the entire season, and we invited several Survivor alumni to drop in and chat. While season 41 is on the 2021 CBS programming announcements, I don't know when it's going to actually air, so who knows how long it will be until we get together again and to get to hear Joanne and Stacy and the fans. They might even have to film 41 in the United States, I think. I'm also not sure how I feel about 16 and 17-year-old teenagers being invited to apply, which seems like a family edition is in store for Survivor. And we all know how well Kid Nation and the family edition of Amazing Race turned out. Hope you are all safe at home, and I look forward to hearing from everyone as soon as possible. It's Mike K. from SoCal.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I remember seeing that. What was it? I think it was Michelle had posted something about all the equipment they had sent to her for the Zoom meeting, and they had sent those to all of them. You know, Mike was just talking about having some equivalent of a reunion show released later, but I bet you they ran into technical difficulties and they weren't able to get everyone connected in there at the same time and have it all work.
It worked out for us.
Yeah, I think it did, definitely. Thanks, Mike. Next up, we got a call from KimJ.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy, it's KimJ from Nashville. I enjoyed the finale. I think it's one of the better finales that the series has ever had. And I think Tony has a great argument for the greatest of all time, no doubt about it. I don't like to do winner rankings because every season is unique and we don't always get the winner story. Sometimes we get the story of why somebody lost. So to rank the winners, I think is a difficult thing to do, but I think it is easy to sort of look at the returning player seasons and see who really stands out there. And I think a great argument can be made for Tony to be the best winner of a returning player season. Overall, the season for me ranks probably somewhere around 11 to 15. I totally get where people that really loved it and might have it tops for them, and it's certainly the greatest cast that we've ever had and will ever have for sure. But for me, the season lacked the strategy that I love seeing, and the edge of extinction also brings it down. But it's still a very good season, no doubt about it. I did really get emotional during the Ben and Sarah moment, surprisingly. I don't know that Ben falling on his sword ultimately was the best thing for Sarah moving forward. I still feel like if you go into a Final Four situation with a tight 3, that's the best case scenario. Perhaps he takes out Tony in fire and Sarah wins that way, or perhaps he has an argument himself. Who knows? I understand where they were both coming from, because I don't really agree with Sarah taking out Ben in that situation either, but it was a beautiful moment when Tony beat Sarah in fire making and he was just completely torn up about it. It is an interesting dynamic in returning player seasons, the pre-existing relationships, and I'm glad they didn't shy away from it this season, but I am definitely looking forward to new player seasons when we don't have that baggage. I definitely agree with Sarah and Angelina a few seasons back, and Cass and social media. Women do not get the respect that men get making those very same moves. And I know, Stacy, that you agreed with Tony, but I am going to push back on you a bit. Take a season like Cambodia, where Jeremy votes out Kimmy in that situation, and Kimmy comes back and votes for him and doesn't have any bitterness towards him. If that had been a female, or Tasha, there's just a lot more resentment there for whatever reason. There's a reason that there's only been 3 female winners the past 15 seasons. In this big move era, flashy moves, the women haven't gotten the respect for the social games. It's what we've got that whole arc with Michelle all season about it, and you can see that she did deserve her win after watching this season. And so I just hope that Sarah bringing it up here again, Jeff sort of admitting that maybe he's played a part in it as well, that I hope that going forward it does give women more of a chance, and they don't just have to become flashy players, but that they can get respect for playing not necessarily a flashy game. So thanks so much for all that you guys do. Enjoy your summer.
Thanks, KimJ. I enjoyed your point there. It got me thinking about what we're missing, and it does really come down to the social game. I remember, and I reference it on here from time to time, when Natalie White won, and I didn't understand it at all until we got to talk to her in person. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, wow, she's functioning on a different level, and they didn't show us this. Mm-mm. They didn't, and then it started dawning on me, this is more of a social game. For the longest time, many years, I was more interested in having good survival skills to make it a better experience, or to make that part easier, since that used to be such a big part of the struggle. Now they make things easier for them by giving them water and other stuff. But anyway, that really clicked for me, and then I started looking at the game in a different way. Now, when I'm thinking about what you're saying, absolutely that's true, and women can be punished for the expectation that there's maybe a nurturing element that you may associate with women, and then when it's not there, you're going to have a reaction to that. Maybe that's part of it. The other thing, and we talk about it all the time, how hard it is to see the social game and how it's hidden from us, made me wonder. And so I went back and looked at just the credits on the penultimate episode, because your question and what you were saying, your statements and all that made me start to think about it. And so I had a theory. I bet you that the editors are men, and since men develop emotionally at a slower rate than women do, that could have some bearing
if at all.
Well, and I know you're teasing, but Immie said something from Noelle-n-Immie. I remember listening to her in one of her feedbacks. She said something. I thought, how can you have that insight at, I forget how old Immie is, like 9 or 10 or something like that. How can you understand that about relationships or whatever, and you're that young? And women learn that and develop emotional intelligence and the social side of things so far ahead of men. For me, it's like if you ask me to explain all the shades of red to you, and I'm colorblind and I can't see them, I think it could be potentially like that with the social aspects of the game. If you don't have that perception, if you don't have the ability to receive that message and understand it, how could you possibly portray it in the edit? So I loved what KimJ said, because it got me thinking about this in another way. And so I did go look at the editors and accounting for the bias in names. I have an androgynous name, but we looked at the names, and we, as best we could tell out of the whatever it was, 10 or 15 there, maybe there's 2 women in the editors group. And depending on how, what tasks they're assigned to do, that could affect that. So that, I bet you that could have a big bearing on their ability to deliver that if they really worked on it to get better to show what's going on in the social game.
I think it also goes back to what Tony was saying in the interview that I watched, that, they showed a lot of the stuff about him because they knew he won, or they knew he was in the final 3.
The winners get to write the history.
Yes, exactly. And I thought, I'm sure, because several of the people talked about, I think it was Ethan that said Michelle actually did better, or the best out of the 3 of them, for pleading her case at the final tribal.
Interesting.
That she did very well with that. And so I think... But
since it has no bearing, do you include it or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that too.
They have a lot of things that I bet they would have shown had one of the women won. They'd had plenty of stuff to show if they chose to.
Because there's a big challenge with the social game and the storytelling method that they use. And so often we get to, a lot of people are saying this is a rewarding win, this feels good, I like this because it feels good, it feels right, and it matches up with the kind of edit that they can do and show.
Well, Kim talked about she plays intuitively.
If you're blind to social things, I'm not sure you could represent them in the edit of the show. They're just passed, right over your head kind of thing, and that could really be going on. Anyway, thank you, KimJ.
You've always not been able to recognize that. He would always look at me like, how do you know that? What made you think that that's what was going to happen? You could have written that. And I was like, well, to me it was obvious that was going to happen. And watching a movie or whatever.
That's probably why so many of the women are frustrated.
And he's like,
this is obvious.
I never saw that.
But what if that could be part of the problem? Maybe we need more women editors. Thank you again, KimJ. Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, the finale was like a big old fruit cake, massive and dense and packed with lots of stuff, maybe a bit too sweet, kind of nutty, and maybe not to everyone's taste. Here are my other observations. Jeff will probably set up an office in his garage so he can use the mini tribal council set as a backdrop for his future Zoom meetings. Yeah, or they could sell that, right? They could sell that backdrop as one that you could use for your own. Jeff said production sent him Tribal Council for Dummies. I bet some former players wish they could have bought that book on Amazon. Rob and Amber have identical Zoom backdrops. I felt like I was playing concentration.
Yeah, you noticed that too.
Yeah, definitely. I think Natalie had trouble escaping the rope obstacle in the battle back because she was still sticky from the peanut butter. Stacy saw a single quit. I saw numerous cases of players finally accepting their fate, so much so that the episode could have been titled Acceptance, Final Stage of Grieving. Time will tell, but I think we heard several retirement speeches during the finale. Yeah, I bet you're right. Babies can be squishy and cute. Some alliances are squishy, but stink like dirty diapers. Ben said he learned forgiveness. Tell that to Jeremy. In the water slide challenge, were Michelle's pillars marked? So it showed her how to put them together in that puzzle. That's good. Ben said a smart player would split the votes, then didn't do it. Yep, once again, Sarah had to stop Tony from freaking out as he spoke to her calmly. Natalie bought the Roto-Rooter advantage. When used, it flushes all other hidden idols. Usually nocturnal idol hounds get rewarded. This time it paid to be a sleeper. Yeah, Natalie, they showed her knocking off to sleep very first thing when Tony was getting down to work. Ben flipped a gender role. He's the first of the DOVs. Dad's on vacation. Sarah loves Tony but wants to shoot him. That sounds like a real relationship to me. I found it ironic that Sarah went for broke using Husk for her fire, but Tony was patient. The list of advantages Natalie sent from EOE was impressive. If she had made the same moves while in the main game, she'd be $2 million richer. Effort exchange rate, grinding on EOE is only worth 1/3 of the grinding in the main game. Tony has a really nice house. Maybe he knows more about extortion than he lets on. You really went there, huh? Jeff wants 16-year-olds to apply for next season. Blood versus water, parents versus teens. Michelle said this was the longest season ever. That's how I felt about the finale. I predict season 41 will be held at Jeff's house. Contestants will camp in his backyard, carnival games in his backyard, or water challenges in the pool for immunity. Mowing his lawn earns fire tokens. He already has a tribal council set in his garage. Anyway, that's it from me for this season. Thanks, Joanna and Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Stay safe, everybody. Hope to see you all in the fall. Thanks, Josh. Good job. Way to nail it. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Oh my God, I still cannot believe that Tony won Winners at War. Hey everybody, it's Jeremiah here once again, and yes, I am still shocked about this outcome. Don't think I would have ever seen this coming. Obviously, I went back and looked at what my rating was, or ranking for Tony. I gave him a 6 out of 10. I felt like the guy was going to make enough changes to get him to the merge, but I felt like his threat level would be too high and they would vote him out. Boy, was I wrong. And just congratulations to him. He listened to his wife. He made those adjustments that he needed to do. He played cool, fun-loving Tony in the first half of the game, building trust, and then kicked it back into Tony 1.0 and took it all the way to the end and got himself a win. It was so awesome to watch. And so is this finale. All the great twists and turns, the emotional storytelling that the editors gave us, 3 full hours of Survivor, which was so well done, and many moments that we'll be looking at and wondering what would have happened. What if Ben and Sarah would have listened to Tony at 6? What if Sarah didn't turn on Ben, who, yes, quit on 5? And, of course, the big one. What if Natalie went full Chris Underwood and took on Tony in the fire competition? Obviously, I think she would have had an even better chance of winning if she would have taken Tony out herself. She still could have maybe lost to Sarah, but it would have sure been interesting to see, and at least it would have guaranteed us finally a woman winner, which I don't know what to do about that streak, because now we're on the longest streak without a woman winner. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. What do you guys think? But the season as a whole was so much fun. Started with a bang, kept on going, and ended with a bang. Old school versus new school really became a thing, and of course, past relationships were extremely important. Yeah, I was tainted by the return of EOE, but at least because it was an all-returning season, we were able to continue to see all those great legends that we loved. And luckily, no one from the Edge won the game, so that really helped out a lot. And because the season ran during this COVID-19 thing, I think we'll always have fond memories of it because it was a great distraction for all the things that was going on in the world. The season for me will be ranked pretty high, probably top 10, maybe top 5, although I hate ranking all-star type seasons with normal seasons. But it sure was fun to watch all winners finally battle it out against each other, and it definitely delivered for me. As for JSFL, I was very happy to see I scored 103, just like you, Joanne. I was in good company there. I was able to get 4 out of the 6 right. That's not too bad. And most importantly, I did not finish at the bottom of the side challenge. Congratulations, by the way, to our winner in the side challenge, but oh my gosh, my good friend Stacy, what happened, bro? Oh, pains me. Chris, you got lucky, my friend. But hey, I always, of course, enjoy hearing you sing, Stacy. I'm sure you're going to deliver it completely, and I'm looking forward to that. And as far as what's going to happen next, obviously it looks like we are going to maybe get Survivor in the fall. I don't know how he's going to pull it off. And what's this about kids playing? Ugh, I don't think that's a good idea. Oof. Well, let's hope we do get that season this fall. And as for me, this summer, I am going to be doing my complete full rewatch of all the Survivor seasons. I've got my ranking sheet. I'm going to be putting a score number to each season so I can determine what I think is the best seasons. And of course, I will be doing all this and recording my reactions for each season on my personal podcast, JP Unplugged. When I do my first episode, I'll share it in the Facebook group for anyone who wants to join me in that journey. But other than that, that's it for me. I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. And until next season, Jeremiah from Southern California.
Excellent.
All right. Jeremiah's got some entertainment coming for you.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Good job, Jeremiah.
Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. Well, that was a fantastic finale. The only thing that keeps me from really jumping up and down and saying that it was an absolutely fantastic finale was Edge of Extinction. I don't think that anyone should be allowed to come back into the game at the final 6 with that much power, with a hidden immunity idol. For someone to be voted out and then to be just sitting out on the sidelines and then be transplanted back into the game 2 steps before a final vote out with a hidden immunity idol, it made the final 6 through the final 4 really unfun to watch for me. I mean, it was exciting, but it was a kind of uncomfortable exciting that I don't like to have. Having Natalie in the game like that, I mean, it just encompassed all of the fears and frustrations that I have about Edge of Extinction and why I spend the whole season just dreading the thought of it and just not liking it. But in the end, it didn't matter, so I don't know why I'm dwelling on it. I'm so excited for Tony. Tony and Sarah made this season exciting. They made the finale exciting. The final 5 made the finale exciting, minus Natalie. And I feel like I just have to say, I mean no ill will towards Natalie. Natalie played her heart out. She played the hand that she was dealt. It's the twist that I'm frustrated with. Every player played their heart out with the hand that they were given, with the season that they were given, and that was what made it just so exciting. Tony's win was made all that more significant and exciting to watch because of all that he overcome, including the Edge of Extinction twist, including the extortion twist, including just his legacy that he needed to overcome. His game and his story arc was just absolutely impressive. Sarah's story arc was amazing, all the way up to her going out making fire. Both Tony and Sarah were huge targets coming into the game, and they both managed to make it all the way through without being voted out. And I think Tony is a fantastic representative for this season as a winner, and a fantastic representative of Survivor in general as another 2-time winner. And now, as the season 40 Survivor Fans podcast comes to a close, I just want to thank Joanne and Stacy for another fantastic season of bringing this wonderful group of fans together to share our enjoyment of our favorite game. I don't know when I'm going to wake up and check my podcast feed to find Joanne and Stacy have uploaded a new episode and hear that on the grill music, but I just know that that's going to be a very exciting day. Thanks to everyone who writes and calls in to contribute to this podcast. Every single one of you is fantastic. Till next time, bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Jen. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and that's what I call a 3-hour Survivor episode. I think we're spoiled now, but sadly, I doubt that we'll ever see a finale like that again. So let's start with the people themselves and their gameplay. Ben. Whoa, I am so disappointed. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't play Survivor to build friendships. And because of his reason for playing this season, I have to say that his stock has gone way down in my book. Survivor. Outwit, outplay, outlast, self-sacrifice. Yeah, drop that last part and you have one heck of a show. And on the other hand, Michelle impressed me so much, especially with that 3-tiered challenge win where she completely bowled over our competition. That and other moves have made me completely change my mind about her, and I agree that she deserved votes, but since I would have voted for Tony, I understand why she didn't get any. I just hope she does too. Not getting votes in the end doesn't always mean you are unworthy. Truth be told, she's one of the few who showed up a second time and actually turned me into a fan. And it's not like she was a goat. Players were constantly after her, and she should be very proud of what she accomplished. Final 3, not a goat. And Natalie, who was my first USB, well, I'm honestly glad she didn't win. The comeback theme is broken. I don't think it can be fixed, and I hope we don't see it again. That said, she played as hard as she could with a severe handicap and pretty much nailed it. Denise, now that was sad because I really like her. She was almost my USB, but in the end, she was just a likable person to me on this go-around. Yeah, she had a great move, but that's pretty much where she peaked. And Sarah, she only made little moves. She made many missteps, and she was essentially carried by Tony this season. I think if you put her in Tony's shoes in the final 3, she would have lost. I loved watching her, but that's just not enough for a win, no matter how cocksure you are of yourself. Which brings me to Tony, who aside from trying to burn down the island while idol hunting at night, well, let's face it, he played a spectacular game. I was so happy he won, especially after Ben and Sarah torpedoed his plan that would have saved his and Ben's idols. I know he said it over and over, but to Ben and Sarah, I have to say, he told you. Why they were so insistent that Natalie didn't have an idol is beyond me. But Tony's recovery from that huge pitfall was so worthy of a win on its own. And then when he made fire, well, it was just like the icing on the cake. Yeah, it was a fantastic ending to the best finale show ever. And you know what else gave him that win? The way he connected with the jury throughout their questioning. Each time he made them laugh, and he did it a lot, well, he just won them over all the more. He learned from his past mistakes. He didn't sacrifice his game, and he proved you can have your cake and eat it too. So I guess this is the part of my feedback where I thank Joe and Stacy for the huge sacrifices they've made all through the season to enable us to have such an incredible time. And this season they completely had my back when it came time to total our players' fire tokens, which I stumbled with so many times. Thanks again. And Steve, I thank you for your amazing work on the JSFL website. It boggles my mind how you create and maintain something like that. And then all my friends here who contribute to the feedback shows. Whether it be once or many times throughout the season, I can't thank you all enough either. Please everyone be safe. I suspect it's going to take more time than normal to get the next season out and onto our televisions, but I know I'll be here again when it does happen. Meanwhile, I'll be looking for you all on Facebook. A lot of my friends on there have come from this very podcast. Thanks again, everyone, but mostly thanks, Joanne and Stacy. Goodbye.
Thank you, Paul. Good job, bud.
Okay, next up we have an update from our side challenge winner who says, "Hello, Joanne and Stacy. JKindred here. First off, let me just say thank you for everything you guys do. Your podcast is my favorite by far. I just love the back and forth between you two."
We do too.
Wow, what a season. I couldn't have asked for anything much better. I started off wanting a Wendell win, but that changed quickly. Go Tony. I still can't believe I won the side challenge after trying for so many seasons. The song I would choose is School Day, Ring Ring Goes the Bell by Chuck Berry. But of course, if that doesn't work, any song by Eric Clapton will do too. I make sure to tell everyone I know to listen to the podcast and play JSFL. Keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. Until next season, whenever that may be, stay classy.
All right. Thanks, JKindred. Yeah, that's a great song. So I copied the lyrics over. I'm already starting to think about where that may go. So I'll have fun with that. I appreciate it. We want to say a huge thank you to everyone for taking time to send in your thoughts about the finale and the season as a whole. What an awesome job. We appreciate all the great listener feedback shows you've created this season. Good job, everyone. A big thanks to Suzanne, Rhonda, and Kim for your donations. We greatly appreciate your support. We also want to thank Steve for creating and maintaining the Fantasy League website. We would not have all this JSFL fun without him. Also, big thanks to Paul for his roster and the logo he creates for the JSFL website. We appreciate it so much. Great job keeping up with all the idols and advantages and tokens this season and coming up with creative ways to visualize that. Also, thanks to you, Jeremiah, for managing the SFP fans page on Facebook. Good job.
And we hope everybody has a great summer break and maybe catch up on any missed seasons of Survivor or rewatch your favorites during this break. So, anything else you wanted to say?
I think we are good. It is time to sign off and head out, and we'll be back when Survivor's back.
Stay safe, everyone.
Have a good one.